What's up guys? Today I want to compare the Canon R7 with the EOS RP. Alright, so this is the R7 with the 50mm 1.8. So the dynamic range looks better on the R7 to me. I know I've heard people say both ways, that it looks better on the RP or that it looks better on the R7. But to me there's more detail, there's more information right there in the background. On the R7, the image actually looks better, but you can see that it's a crop sensor. Everything looks kind of miniature. It's like a miniature version. It doesn't really have that same full frame 3D pop that you had before. It still looks better for video. You know what I mean? The quality looks better, but you can just tell that it's not full frame now. I'll show the bodies of the cameras and compare that, but I also want to compare just the video footage. So we're filming in 1080 at 23.95 frames a second on the R7, and with the RP I'm going to be using the 16mm f2.8. With the R7 I'm using the wide angle kit zoom. It's a 10 to 18 at f4.5, so that is as wide open as it can go right there at f4.5, so it shows how blurry you can get the background. So let's switch over to the RP and see what looks better. Actually, before we do that, this lens can zoom, so let's go into 18. So that's kind of interesting, more like the 28mm would look like on here. So this could be the 16mm and the 28mm. That's more like 29. It'd be like right there, something like that for 28, but it looks pretty good actually. And it's at 6.3 when it goes all the way in to the 29mm full frame equivalent, 18mm on the crop sensor. What's up guys? We are comparing the EOS RP to the R7. On the RP I've got the 16mm f2.8, and on the R7 I've got the equivalent 10mm. It's 1.6 times crop, so it's equivalent to 16 on full frame, but it goes to 18mm, which is more equivalent to 29mm. So this lens is like having the 16 and the 28 in one package. You don't really get a lot of background separation with those two lenses anyway, even on full frame, but this is at 4.5, so that's the separation you can get on the crop sensor on this lens, and then that's at 6.3 zoomed all the way in. So I want to show the physical characteristics in the body of these two cameras and lenses and compare that, but I also want to just compare the video quality. So we're in 1080, 23.95 frames a second, like 24 frames a second basically. There's a bird flying above me, and let's switch over to this camera. Alright, so now we're on the RP with the 16mm f2.8. You can see there is more background separation. I almost feel like this camera looks better if I overexpose it just a little bit. It just seems to have more pop in the videos that I've made. The videos on YouTube I've made with the RP, the ones where I was overexposed looked better and did better for some reason. I like the 16mm, a little overexposed like that. I almost think the dynamic range might be better on the R7 than the RP. Alright, so now we're on the RP, but we've got the 50mm f1.8 on the camera, so you can see I've got much blurrier background, and that's the cool thing about full frame, you can get that really blurry background. So I've got the R7 here in my hand. The autofocus is pretty quick. Even on the RP, autofocus is really good, honestly. You get a pretty good image from the RP. You don't need the best dynamic range for something like this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this kind of content, scroll through my channel, check out my other videos, and hit the subscribe button because I got a lot more videos to come. Thanks for watching. So I just got the Zv-1 in the mail, and somebody tweaked all the settings. It looked terrible. The contrast was turned up, the saturation and everything, and I was just pink. But I fixed it. Now we're in standard colors. So I'm just using the internal mic, and I'm going to be comparing this camera to Canon cameras, the R7 and the RP. So I filmed some shots with the Canons in this same location. Oh, that looks so much better now that I fixed the colors. That was crazy before. It looked so bad. Why would anybody want that? So the colors are actually pretty good on the Zv-1, and you got a zoom So go into like a 70mm equivalent. Let's go over here. So the dynamic range is worse on the Zv-1 than it is on the RP or the R7. You can see it's much more blown out in the background on the Zv-1 because it's got a small 1-inch sensor compared to an APS-C or full frame sensor we were working with on the RP and the R10. I totally meant to say R7. The R10 was not in this video. I don't know. I think the colors on Sony are a little more cartoony, but I almost think Sony has maybe even better colors, but the Canon colors are more realistic for sure. The dynamic range is pretty bad on the Zv-1, but it's such a small pocketable camera, it's great value. Alright, so I wanted to test this with the active stabilization off on the Zv-1F. Also, they had the sharpness turned up and the clarity turned up. I bought this used and I didn't know that, so now all of that is turned off. So how does that look? Does that look any better? Hopefully that looks a little better. I think it was a little over sharpened before, and there's no stabilization on, so I want to see what that will do to a walking shot. I don't know that it's really going to do a lot with such a wide angle lens. What if I hold it with both hands? No stabilization. How does that look? I love these little cameras. Alright, so now we're on the Zv-1F. You can see it's a little bit wider, not too much. We're at f2.2, so let's go down to f2. So this goes down to f2, and then this one goes to 1.8. This is a more expensive camera, but these days you can actually find the Zv-1 cheaper than the Zv-1F on the internet because it's used and it's older, and for some reason there's a ton of these that are labeled Zv-1F on the internet, so it's totally mislabeled, and sometimes you can find this one actually a little bit cheaper than the Zv-1F. So this is with the wide angle adapter on there, and we've got stabilization on, active stabilization, so that's what it looks like with stabilization. On the Zv-1 I usually get vertical shots because it wasn't quite wide enough, but on this it is kind of wide enough that you could vlog like this with some decent stabilization. What if I unscrew this? You can unscrew it while you're doing it, while you're filming, because there's no parts going in and out on this lens, unlike the Zv-1. That's one thing I really do like about this lens better, is there's no parts like zooming in and out. That looks pretty good. I feel like I'm a little more overexposed on this, but I think they have the same sensor, so the dynamic range should be about the same. But as far as just walking shot like this looks pretty good with just the active stabilization, no in-body stabilization, no lens stabilization. So what do you guys think? What looks better to you? Zv-1 or the Zv-1F? Let me know in the comments section below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this kind of content, scroll through my channel, check out my other videos, and hit the subscribe button because I got a lot more videos to come. Thanks for watching. So here's the active stabilization with the Zv-1. It's pretty good, honestly. I'm just hand holding the camera and I don't have any external microphone, and this is what it looks like just for vlogging your everyday life just with a pocket camera. So it really is one of the best vlog cameras out there for sure. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. I've got plenty of videos on this camera, plenty of videos on the Ricos or any of these pocket cameras. So check out my other videos and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. What's up guys, we are on the Sony Zv-1, What's up guys, we are on the Sony Zve-10 with the 20mm f2.8, but I have a 2.2 times teleconverter on the front of the lens. So you can see it makes it more of like a portrait lens, longer focal length, more flattering on the face. Definitely looks better than a wide angle lens as far as like the shape of my face and the distortion and stuff like that. There might be even a little pin cushion distortion on this setup right now. So how does that look? We're going to switch over to a wide angle lens. So I've got the RX1 full frame tiny camera here, and we've got the wide angle adapter from the Zv-1, the Ulanzi one. We're going to test that out, and then I've got another wide angle adapter I want to test out too. So I just removed this, just one twist, and it kind of fell off. Here's what it looks like. See if I can get it to focus. So this is what the lens looks like without any teleconverter. Not too bad. Pretty decent, but it was definitely more flattering with that 2.2 times teleconverter. Definitely looks better. What do you guys think? So we've got the image stabilization off. This is just this cheap Japan Optics wide angle adapter. And you can see the corners are blurry, distorted, but it's super sharp in the middle. So I like a distorted, blurry, like cornered lens because it makes it look like there's more depth of field. Oh, it's gonna fall. This is like a monopod we've got the camera on right now. So how does that look? Look less flattering with the wide angle. 2 twists. All right, so there's the wide angle adapter. Just super cheap wide angle adapter. How does that look without it? I think I'm overexposed a little bit, but it says I'm exposed correctly. I should probably highlight weighted exposure of this. So this is the Ulanzi version of the wide angle adapter. I feel like it's not quite as wide, but that could be just me. Now let's test this stuff on the RX1. But actually it is more red than I ever remember this camera being.